This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, welcome back everyone. So we were looking into the $100 method in the last segment. Now moving on to the final requirement prioritization technique, that is the RICE method. So what is this RICE method? It is nothing but you are focusing on four major factors and utilizing the quantifiable result of these four parameters to identify which requirement is of a higher priority, which one is a low priority, and so on and so forth, by assigning a specific score to each of these requirements. Okay, so what does it imply? Let's get into the details. So when we say reach, impact, confidence, effort, how do you define that? So reach is nothing but the number of users or customers who will be affected or benefited from a specific requirement being implemented. Okay, so it is more like you're measuring the potential audience size or the user impact. So here what you do is this you put into three categories: high, medium, low, or high, moderate, low. What it implies is uh, the stakeholders discuss among themselves and come up with a particular value as high reach for a specific requirement. If it is implemented, it is going to reach out to a greater segment of customers. Whereas there is another requirement which is not going to be used by a lot of customers, so that is going to have a moderate reach, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this could be a little subjective. Like some stakeholders may give it a high, some may give it low, and some others may give moderate. That is possible. Okay, that's about the reach. Then you have the second parameter, which is the impact. Impact is nothing but you are trying to measure the magnitude or the effect, the size of the benefit of positive change that this particular requirement will give to the customer. Like how much will the customer really feel that it is benefiting him or her of using this specific requirement. So this again can vary depending on the project's objectives. Some examples, if we take, it could be like revenue increase. Now, implementing a specific requirement, how much is it going to cause a benefit in revenue increase or customer satisfaction or user engagement? All of these factors. You ask the stakeholders, like, how much do you think implementing this requirement is going to impact the revenue increase? Then they'll give this particular factor like, yeah, I think it is going to have a moderate impact, and some may say it's going to have a low impact, etc. So that is going to be the second parameter. Now, as I've mentioned, reach and impact are two factors where these are being very subjective. It is difficult to have a consensus among stakeholders. A specific requirement might be considered to be a high reach by a certain stakeholder, while a low reach by another stakeholder. So this sort of conflicts are possible. That is where your third parameter comes into picture, which is the confidence. So confidence is nothing but the teams, the stakeholders level of certainty in the estimate that they're giving for each and every requirement. So if everyone is aligned and everyone says high or everyone says low, then it is fine. The confidence is higher. Whereas if there's a lot of gap in between what the stakeholders are thinking about the potential reach or the potential impact of a specific requirements implementation, then the confidence will fall down to moderate or even further to low. Okay. And effort, what do you mean by effort? Effort is nothing but if a specific requirement is supposed to be implemented, developed, tested, and all, is it a complex requirement which takes a lot of efforts? Then you assign it a higher score. Is it a moderate one or is it a low effort related requirement? This is what you try to identify for every requirement. Then what happens is you assign a formula for this RICE score, which is nothing but reach into impact into confidence divided by efforts. Okay. So what are these scores that you give for each? If it is a high reach, if it is considered to be high reach, then you give a score of 3. If it is a moderate reach, you give a score of 2. If it's a low reach, then you give a score of 1. Same for impact, high, moderate, low. Same for confidence, high, moderate, low. And efforts also again. You give it a score of, if it's a high effort intensive requirement, then you give it a score of 3. If it's very low effort intensive requirement, then you give it a score of 1. This is what you do. Now let's take an example so that things become very clear to all of us. Okay. Now again, going back to our food delivery app, do not focus on the entire table. Just look at the leftmost column, which is the feature. Okay. So here we are considering 4 features. One is user ratings, second one is real-time ordering, third is diet preference, and fourth is gamification. Okay. These are the 4 features. Now we are going to prioritize these 4 requirements and see which one is going to have a higher score and which is going to have a low score. On the top row, what you say is the parameters reach, impact, confidence, effort, and the rise score. Okay. Now take the first requirement, which is the user ratings. Means how important is it to have the user ratings for the customers? Okay. Now if you look at the reach of it, the reach of this particular requirement is high. What it implies is this particular feature will impact all the users of the app as it displays the ratings and reviews of each and every restaurant, each and every dish. So every customer will be using it. Every customer would be interested in knowing the user ratings, the fellow user ratings for a specific restaurant or for a specific food item, etc. So the reach is going to be high. What about the impact? Impact is also going to be high because if the user ratings, the way it is displayed and all is improved, then it can increase the user trust and they can start ordering more. So the engagement increases, the conversion rate increases. So the impact is also going to be high. So now, if all these stakeholders are agreeing that the reach and impact is really going to be high, then there is a high level of confidence among the stakeholders, right? That this is a very important requirement. So you assign high for the confidence level also. And here, as I mentioned, high implies so you can assign a score points of 3 for high, moderate as 2, and low as 1. Okay. So here, effort in terms of effort, if you see, the technical team may say, okay, you won't use a rating site, it's not a big deal. Whenever any person orders, we just get a rating from them, and based on that, I can give a score. So if efforts are going to be less, sort of moderate, not very low, then you assign a score of 2. So what happened? High, so is 3, again high 3, 3, and moderate is 2. So based on this score, you're saying 3 into 3 into 3 by 2. That gives a score of 13.5. So this is for user rating. Similarly for real-time ordering. Again, here if you see, the reach of it is going to be high because all the customers will benefit from real-time ordering. What's the impact going to be? It is definitely going to improve the customer experience by providing transparency of where the delivery agent is at this specific point of time. So that impact is good. But confidence is a little moderate because some stakeholders may say impact not required because most of the customers will order and they'll just put the phone away. They don't really check. And some stakeholders may say no, it's very important. So that way, the confidence among the stakeholders may be a little bit here and there. Okay. So again, implementing it requires multiple third-party delivery service because you need to integrate with Google Maps and a little bit of more things need to be done. So here, the confidence of the stakeholders in getting this really delivered, this requirement, is a little bit dicey. So they say, let's keep the confidence as moderate. In terms of effort, again, as I said, you need to integrate with other services, maps and other things have to be integrated into your app, and there should be seamless, uh, uh, you know, uh, experience of the customer of using that particular Google Map feature on this app itself. So efforts wise, it is going to be a little high. Okay, so that's the reason here it is given as high, high, moderate, and high. So it becomes 3 into 2 by 3. So that gives a score of 6. Now, diet preference. It's really not going to be used by all the customers. Only a section of customers are really concerned about their diet. Most of the people would be like more on indulgence spree, so they might not really focus more on the dietary preference. So assign it a score of moderate. Similarly, impact. Again, if half the customers are not even going to use it, then what's the point? The impact is also going to be moderate. Confidence about these being moderate is high among the stakeholders. Okay, so that is the reason that you have given a score of high or 3 for it. And then because even the stakeholders may see it is high because they feel based on surveys and all, it is something which whoever is going to use it will definitely use it. In terms of effort, again, it could be a low effort because it's technically it might not really take much time to get this particular feature implemented. So here moderate, high, buy low, so it becomes 12. Similarly, gamification is like, you assign a set of score for customers for ordering these many items for these many days, streaks and all that, points for ordering beyond this certain amount of order value, etc. And all, adding user ratings gives you more scoring points and all that, and based on this score you might get a slight discount in the next order. That sort of gamification. Now here, if you see, this looks good, but not all the customers may be so much savvy about using these things. So the reach, impact, and confidence is going to be low. Effort-wise, it can be a little intensive in terms of doing all these calculations at the back end. So it is but a moderate. So overall, the score has become zero point 0.5. So here, if you see 13.5, 6, 12, and zero point 0.5. So it clearly, user rating becomes the winner over here, followed by the diet preference, then the real-time ordering, and then the gamification. So this is how RISE method helps in prioritizing the requirements. Now again, as I said, once you assign these values, then the discussions happen, then it comes, then there could be some sort of refinement happening in the overall requirements prioritization, and that can again impact the score and all those things. That is possible, but this is one technique which can be used effectively in order to understand how to prioritize the requirements. Okay, so I think with this we are confident on the RISE method. So this closes the requirements prioritization techniques. Now we'll move on to the next segment in the next video. Thanks everyone.